Hello, everyone. Welcome to Challenging Your Status Quo, the go-to podcast for those seeking success that resonates on every level. Our guide on this journey to success is J.A. Dava, co-founder of Latreia Coaching and Consulting. Each episode, we challenge you to step outside your comfort zone in redefining holistic success. Because in order to truly excel, one must rise in all aspects of life: spiritual, physical, relational, and philanthropical. So buckle up. Let's explore how your vocation and well-being can harmonize perfectly. And give a warm welcome to the host of Challenging Your Status Quo, J.A. Dava. So, Terry and Jocelyn Fung, welcome to Challenging Your Status Quo. Jocelyn, how are you?
I'm good, J.A. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for being here. Terry, man, come on. How are you?
Hey, today is a great day. Are you kidding me? Every day's a great day. I wake up and I can get out of bed. So thank you so much for having us, J.A.
Oh man, you know what? There's a lot of exciting things going on, Terry and Jocelyn, and there's a few different, one very specific surprise that's coming out of this thing. So I've got to tell you, I'm extremely privileged to be able to be sitting in front of you. But before we even get started, guys, I already alluded to the fact that you guys, when I first met you, you're working with Compass, and that you guys were really the internal coaches, internal consultants, trainers. I mean, besides the fact that you have your licenses in the mortgage industry, at least Terry, you do. Anyways, so before I go any further, Jocelyn, I'm going to start with you first. Can you tell us who you are? Tell our audience exactly who you are at this point, anyway.
Well, I'm Jocelyn Fung, as you all know. I've been in the mortgage business for, telling my age now, 35 plus years. Started out as a processor, went to a closer, underwriter, in sales. That's where Terry even talked me into going into sales. I didn't want to do it, but he talked me into it. So here we are. We became a husband and wife team about maybe 15, 16 years ago, and we're still here.
Right on. And you're still here. That's a good thing. So, I got to ask this question. You said 15 years as in a partnership, as far as business wise is concerned. How long have you guys been married then?
We've been married for 26 years.
There you go. All right. So that partnership has really been much more established than just 15 years. Terry, man, welcome to the show. Terry, can you tell us a little bit about who you are? We've kind of been alluded to already who you are, but tell us more.
Yeah, well, so the reason I got into the mortgage business, J.A., was because in 1987, I bought my first home. And it was such a bad experience. Nobody explained anything to me. It was all like learning another language to buy a house. And at that point, I said I could do better for people. And so in January of 88, I got into the business. And to Jocelyn's point, we've been doing this for more than 35 years. Although she started when she was 12, I started when I was, fully grown. So, that's why Jocelyn looks much younger, because she started at a much younger age and it hasn't worn on her as much. But quite frankly, the mortgage industry is really what I know. It's been a great opportunity. A lot of people have helped me along the way. And now it's time, I believe in my own mind, to give back for everybody who's paid forward to me.
Yeah. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for that. And you're absolutely right, by the way. Isn't it great to look younger than what you are? So I'm not going to disclose your ages, but
He knew what to say, J.A.
What's that?
He knew exactly what to say.
I see that. So, but again, guys, I want to dig in a little bit, right? Because as you well know, our audience is usually people who are looking to see, what can I learn from this particular podcast? And so I want to talk about the mortgage industry. I mean, between you two, the amount of industry knowledge, okay, is vast. And so I want to start by just asking you guys, in all this time that you've been in the business, how is the business right now? I mean, so is it really unusual when you think about the span of time? Tell me a little bit about the business right now, guys. What are your thoughts? Terry, I'm going to start with you this time.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I mean, we've been through a lot. We've been through the market crash back in '88, all kind of stuff, the meltdown of 2008. And I will say that a lot of those were individual pieces that kind of changed the industry. But now you've gotten to a point where all those pieces have kind of come together for the perfect storm. And so you've got a combination of what people think are horrible rates, which they're actually not horrible rates. Historically, the rates are very, very good. But there's such a lack of inventory and the margins are so thin in the business that between the lack of inventory, the thin margins, inflation has been on people's mind. COVID hit us along the way. It just kind of changed everybody's mindset. And so the idea now is that we have to get back to work. And that's a hard thing to do when you've been remote for so long, is to get back in the game and get back to work. So I think that's the biggest thing that the successful people are doing is they're being present, they're going face to face with people, and they're really engaging in, and they're not worried about all the other external factors because, quite frankly, what can we really control? The only thing in the world we can actually control is ourselves, and that's sometimes to a limited extent. So I think if we control our own mindset, that's going to be the game changer that's going to help us to get through this, what I call it, kind of a dry patch in the mortgage industry.
Yeah, for sure. Jocelyn, what's
Yeah,
your
I
insight
agree.
on that?
I agree with what Terry said. We've had some ups and downs within the business, but it's all about how you approach your business to stay in the business, if that makes sense.
Yes.
There's peaks and valleys. If when times are good, times are good. Everyone loves it when times are good. When times are bad, that's when you see people wanting to complain. The rates are bad. I have no business. There's low inventory. But it's all about how you approach the business is how you're going to sustain and be in the business. Um, what Terry said is spot on. People forgot to know how to go back to work. And we're all on these Zoom calls, Teams calls. Sometimes they don't even want to get on camera. So it's the industry has kind of changed. No, not kind of. It has changed. But I think that we can get back to where it was.
Well, so that's interesting because when you're talking about what it was in our industry, that's like when coaches and trainers and um, say back to the basics, right? It's back to the basics. First of all, guys, with the world of AI right now and so much automation and everything else, is there such a thing as back to the basics? And is that really still something that people should be considering? Jocelyn, I'll start with you on that one.
The basics are the basics. I don't care if we're in AI, EQ, uh, non-QM, anything that's within the mortgage industry. We all have to go back to the basics, and the basics are learning your craft.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Terry?
Yeah, I would say exactly that. And it's really no different. No matter what technology evolves, no matter what comes along the way, I think that the idea is that the fundamentals remain the same. For people to say, well, it's changed, now I don't have to pay attention to this or pay attention to that, I think you're really selling yourself short if you go that route. Because what you're doing is you're ignoring the fundamentals that are the foundation on which you build a house. And obviously, we know if you build a house on sand, it's not a very solid foundation. So you have to have a solid foundation to build your house, your book of business. And once you do that, then you'll be imminently successful because so many people are not doing that. So many people are using hope as a strategy as opposed to a real strategy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so let's talk from a loan officer perspective for just a sec, right? There's a lot of loan officers that when I'm talking to them, they just continue to say, well, Jay, I mean, how important is really time blocking in today's world? How important is it really to go through scripting and making phone calls and things like that in today's world? I mean, how often should I be looking at my database, all that kind of stuff? Um, so it's almost like they're putting it off, right? It's like that's the old stuff. There's the new way. Guys, you've seen it. What are your thoughts on that? Is that really old stuff? Is that something that is there a different way to look at business today, or is that still an important piece? Jocelyn?
Well, I think that that's an important piece, but like Terry says, the fundamentals are the fundamentals, and it's the basics that you have to get back to. A lot of the loan officers today, I think, quite frankly, some are just pure lazy. You have to get out and go out and get business to have business. A lot of loan officers today are waiting for the phone to ring because we were in a refi boom just a few years ago,
Yeah.
and everyone was making, tons of money. They were waiting for the phone to ring, but they're not doing that today.
Yeah.
So there is a shift, and with that being said, with that part of it.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Terry?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. One is there's decisions and outcomes. We make decisions to do things, and then depending on what the outcome is, we say either that's a great decision or a bad decision. And I would say that today, people went ahead and they looked at 2020 and 2021 as being that's a normal market. It is not a normal market. So it was a kind of a crazy time when people, no matter what you were basically just turning away business. You couldn't handle it all, and that's an unusual dynamic in this industry. But the other part is, I would say that when people have that mindset, like you were talking about, they don't need time management, they don't need to use their CRMs, they don't need to do anything else. What I would say happens is that work expands to fill the time allotted. So if you have 8 hours and you have one task, it's going to take you 8 hours to do that one task. If you have 5 tasks to do in that 8 hours, you could still do it. You'll still do those 5 tasks. It's just that people they put it in their head and they say, oh, well, I've got a lot of time, so let me just do some other things that aren't important. And so I would say staying with the fundamentals, being efficient, and then really focusing in on those tasks, because when you focus in on time blocking and using your CRM, it gives you that ability to be able to really just drop right into that and ignore everything else. Ignore all the other side noise. It doesn't matter what else is going on with tariffs and this and that. That's not going to change the mortgage industry. No matter whether we've got a tariff war going on with China or somebody else, it makes no difference at all, because at the end of the day, those tariffs aren't going to pay your bills, feed your family, or take care of what you need from a financial standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. And you know what? It is one thing, and this is where I wanted to also dive in with you guys, is that you've also seen management, right? You've seen management. You guys have been in those roles. So it's one thing to talk about loan officers. I still think that back to the basics is something that still needs to happen. I don't care if you're getting your leads through AI, or if you're buying your leads, or if you're calling your database. The bottom line is you still got to call them. You just do. I mean, you still eventually have to interact with people. And so, yes, it still comes back down to the very basics. And some of the richest source of business right now is your database, right? And so,
Yes.
and we tend to hear that. But I want to go to the next level on this one with you guys for a second. You guys have been around, and you've seen good management and you've seen bad management and everything else. Don't disparage anybody, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about managers and loan officers, dynamic wise. When you've seen someone succeed in that dynamic, what's usually a good trait of a manager? And some of the managers are listening right now. Take note. Terry, I'm going to start with you. What makes a good manager to be able to assist, especially in today's market? What do you think?
I think it's incumbent upon managers today to make sure that their empathy is there, because we may say that what happened during our time is one thing, but honestly, empathy is what we all need today. We need this as a cornerstone or foundation of how we're going to operate our business and how we're going to interact with our people. If we're not empathetic, all we're doing is we're telling them what it should be. And nobody wants to hear about the good old days all the time. They want to hear about, how can I be relevant today? And being relevant today is understanding. If you have a manager who is empathetic, and I would highly encourage managers who maybe are a little bit light on that empathy to get some empathy coaching, which we offer here at Latreia 360. But I would say that if you go ahead and you're empathetic and you have a feeling and understanding, that will carry through to your people, because then your people will have empathy for those clients or prospects that they're dealing with. If they don't have empathy, they say, oh, well, your credit score isn't that good. We need this, we need that. And they dismiss them. Then guess what? The people who are going to eat their lunch are those people who have empathy and care about those people more than they care about a paycheck. And they take care of those people, and the paycheck and the compensation will follow.
Yeah.
Mm.
100% agree.
Jocelyn, anything to add to that? Yeah,
Yes,
you agree?
100% agree is empathy. Throughout. my career, I've had good managers and I've had bad managers. And most of them did lack empathy. They weren't walking through side by side with their loan officers. It's just go get the next deal, go get the next deal. But if they don't know how to go and get the next deal, what do? So if that manager isn't empathetic on showing them, on coaching them, on consulting them on how to go and get the next deal, it's just in one ear and out the other.
Wow, it's so true. And but you guys are really, you're walking right into something that really needs to be focused in on. You know, it's one thing to talk about basics when it comes to loan officers. It's another thing to talk about what managers really have to learn to do. Because a very, very big topic right now, guys, is AI, right? And so, and you know, here at Latrea, we are actually, you know what? I'm going to step into this thing for just a sec. You guys have an involvement with Latrea 360 at this point. You mind, Terry, publicly telling us what that new involvement is that you guys are doing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat the question?
Latrea 360 is walking into the AI world, right? I mean, it's a new focus for us. And along the way, there's something exciting that I wasn't going to drop it until the end of the show, but I want you to. Are you playing a role in the AI world? And I want you to announce what you want to announce here. But tell us what your involvement is at Latrea 360 at this point.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned early on in my career, many people helped me, and a lot of people gave and invested in me along the way, and now it's time to pay back. And I've always felt, at least for the past maybe 10 years, that because I've had such great fortune of being in the business and being a loan officer the entire time or a sales manager the entire time, that the idea of being able to help others has been critical. And this is, I kind of take these things as signs. Call me superstitious, call me whatever, but I look at certain signs. And this is something I said even before my employment at Compass changed. And so at this point, um, I just looked at it. I said, "Wow, how did this happen?" And it's ironic that we've known each other for a long time, but yet we've come together again, once again, to pursue a common goal. I think that common goal is to help coach and guide and work people through at all the levels, from the C-suite all the way down to the base level. So the idea is that the forward-facing customer, the people facing customers every day, the idea is that if we are successful at helping people holistically throughout the whole process, from the company, from the top to the bottom, from one side to the other, then that team is well equipped to win. If you only help one person and one person has that vision, the rest of the people don't have the vision, that's very difficult to make success out of. Because if it's one-sided, it's never. When it's universal, you have a universal buy-in, basically alignment and agreement. Then that's when everything changes and the dynamics become something totally different. It takes on a life of its own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jocelyn, what's he not saying?
He's not saying that we are part of Latreia 360.
Yeah, man, come on.
We are part of Latreia 360, and I think that what we'll bring to the table is exactly what we're talking about helping others, serving others. I look at this as the second stage in our life, the second phase, not shouldn't say stage, the second phase in our life of we've been doing this for such a long time. It's now time for us to give back to those that want the help. And I look at it as we're moving from achievement to contribution, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what Latreia was birthed on, right? I mean, we've all been, I mean, between the partnerships here that's working on AI and EQ, that's what I want to walk into a little bit. And AI and EQ is that back to the basics still applies, but AI and EQ is a major focus that doesn't replace the basics, but it enhances our ability to build our businesses. And we've come together for as seasoned veterans in the industry and focusing on AI and EQ. And I'll tell you what, it is so exciting to be able to take you guys and be able to work with you guys very specifically to go and affect others. Because at Latreia, that's really what we're all about is just being able to affect people to the point where they're not only successful vocationally, but holistically. And that means just being relevant. And so, and you guys are coming alongside Terry, man. I know that this is so foreign to us, right? This whole thing about AI, but is it? I mean, is it really that foreign to us?
Well, I don't think it's that foreign. I think people make things be more complex. And so when people look at something and they say on the surface, oh, this is, you'll hear people say, oh, I'm not a technology person, or I'm not very good with this, or I'm not very good with that. It's because you don't take the time to learn it. Now, granted, I will say something pretty similar occurs. We have our smartphones, and we use a few features on our smartphones, but how many people use all 1,000 features that are built into the smartphones?
Yeah.
Nobody really does. We learn to use what is applicable to what we do on a daily basis. So once again, like I say, from the C-suite down to forward-facing employees, customer-facing employees, there's going to be a difference in the usage of it. It doesn't mean that their jobs are going to be replaced, because I think that's another fear people have of AI. Oh, AI is going to take my job. I don't think you need to worry about that. I think you need to worry about it if you're not doing a good job, then AI or no AI, your employment is at risk. But I would say that if you're doing a good, solid, foundationally built job, if you're doing it in the right manner, you will have success. And then, like JA, like you said, AI is an enhancement. It's in addition to, it's not in replacement of.
Yeah. Yeah. Jocelyn, did you ever think you could talk about AI?
Yeah, well, we watched a Wall Street Journal clip the other night, and it was on AI, and the speaker was saying that AI will not replace people's jobs.
Yeah.
Like Terry says, that's what, a lot of people are worried about. But if you're not willing to embrace AI, you may not have a job. Not It's not that AI is replacing you, but if you're not willing to embrace it and take it to the next level that your company is willing to go to, that's what will probably let you go. I don't know.
No, no, you do know. I mean, because you know what? You're absolutely right. AI, it can replace your job, especially if you don't care to be enhanced, right?
Exactly.
And so if you're, the way that I look at it, companies might be able to afford more of you if you're going from somebody who efficiently getting a couple of deals a month to now 10 deals a month because you're that much more efficient, right? And so
Hmm.
think about that from a company perspective. So many people are thinking like it's going to replace them. But the reality is, if a company is doing that well, why not have even greater support, right? Of the human factor part of that. And that's really, man, can you believe that we're actually in this part of the business, right? Because I mean, yes, back to the basics still needs to happen, guys. But what are we doing in the AI and EQ world? Terry, what the heck?
Well, again, it's no different than I look at it from the base of loan origination and loan processing. Back in the day, everybody had paper files. Everybody had all this paper around, and all these documents were flowing through. I can even remember a time when a fax was not acceptable. They had to have a document that was brought in and had to be hand stamped and certified true copy, and that's how it had to be. If you closed a loan in under 30 days, that was a miracle. You were a miracle worker. Fast forward to 2020 and 21, we could never have had that kind of volume if we didn't have the systems built in to automate the processes. AI does not automate processes. AI enhances processes, but it doesn't automate them. So if you're looking at AI as, oh, it's going to make the process faster, we don't need faster processes at this point. What we need is we need more intentional engagement, and AI is going to allow for that to occur. And we're in an instant society. They want to make a call, and they want to believe that they're the only client that you have, and so they're going to call you and expect you to pick up the phone. You can't pick up the phone and be on 3 conversations at the same time. So if you don't have a team built out, for example, This is where AI and some of the AI agents that we help coach with some of the companies, this is where this comes in and augments and makes you more successful, makes you more present, gives you better coverage. It gives you ability to do more in less time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so that's for sure, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I had to laugh when he said we were carrying around paper files. That was me, and I got to the point to where I was had a rolling like a rolling suitcase, but it was a rolling file cabinet. And Terry used to say to me, "Why are you still doing that?" I said, "Because I like to have the paper in my hand."
Right.
He said, "But we're so automated now." But I wasn't ready for that. So I think of AI like the time that I didn't want to get rid of the paper files. A lot of people don't want to embrace AI because they're so used to just this automated system. But AI is going to take it to the whole next level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so as we're walking into that, because I want to talk about an interaction you had, which I'll surprise you with that. But as we're walking into that AI, I think I remember you pulling that thing. By the way, that little cart of yours. You. I think I do remember you doing that. So, but you know what? This whole AI, um, there's Paul, myself, and now you guys joining us at Latrade 360, which, by the way, I am absolutely thrilled that we're working on this project together because I think it's old school meets new school, if we want to even call it that. And it's exciting stuff. Can you give us a little bit of a vision, a little bit of an idea as to what you guys are doing inside of Latrade 360 alongside Paul and I in a partnership around AI and EQ. Jazz, I'm going to start with you. What are some of the things that we're doing right now to make sure that we can affect people in the right way?
Are you asking me first?
I am.
Okay. Well, I'm doing the research on AI and how it can affect on the C-suite level, on the leadership level. There's so much that I'm learning right now. And I think that it'll be so effective when we actually take it out there to different companies. I'm starting to look at the EQ side of it also. And that's very interesting, JA. I didn't even know what an EQ reset was.
Right.
That means that when you're talking to your leaders have to know when it's time to basically take it down, take a chill, walk away, uh, so they could be effective leaders to their staff. So I'm learning a lot with it right now, and I think that this is going to take us to a whole new level.
Absolutely. Terry?
Yeah, I'm delving into a little bit different aspect of it. I'm looking at all the different tools and systems that are available, and when these options are applicable, there's a cost benefit to it. Obviously, signing up for everything and you're going to use one thing that may be not cost effective. However, signing up for the wrong things may not be cost effective, even if you only sign up for one thing. So the idea that people, it's finding the right tool for the right job, and that's really what it is. Also, all the AI tools, we're going to help people to discern what they should be looking at, what they should be dealing with, and they should be focusing in on, as opposed to just taking a broad brush approach and saying we need all of these systems in place, especially when costs are so sensitive. The cost and expense are so sensitive in the mortgage industry. The idea that you want to be very effective with what you do. You want a good return on your investment. So this is what we're doing. I'm looking at the tools aspect of it and all the other pieces that go in together to help to craft something, because it's not a one size fits all solution.
Absolutely. I think, there's this term that I used to use from way back when. Don't ever get to the point where you're office busy, right? In other words, you're working the office all the time. You're just coming in, fixing your desk, making sure everything's arranged properly. When the reality is, you ought to just be working your business, and so looking busy is one thing. And so, the AI world is complex. It's complex. And if you're a loan officer out there, or for that matter, if you're a leader out there in the mortgage industry, you really ought to be looking at your role and being great at that, and let some other people dive into AI, so to speak, because AI is forever moving. right now, right? At a rapid speed. And so really letting, we get to enjoy because it's what we do, right? And that's why Terry, Jocelyn, I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of that because there's so many different components to this thing. But we can come together and make sure that by the time we're serving our clients, those people that we're coaching from leadership all the way to the salespeople and everything else, that we're really bringing what the important things are that they should be concentrating on rather than the whole thing, right? Because at one point I thought, well, I need to be a coder to be able to teach AI, and I mean, I could have been there forever as far as I'm concerned, right? And so it's just really a fascinating thing. So welcome to Latreia 360, by the way. But not too long ago, when we were talking about coming together, you have sons, right? Two sons? Is that what you guys have? You have two
Two,
sons?
correct.
Two
Okay.
sons.
And I think you ran it by maybe it was your sons or your sister. Tell me a little bit about, you guys saying about AI and what the reaction was at that point. Do you guys remember that conversation? And
I
what do you
I think that was with Michelle. We were having the conversation with Michelle, my sister-in-law, when she was here. How AI could even she works for Macy's. She's what exactly does she do, Terry? She's in the distribution center or
Even
uh,
logistics.
hmm and she was fascinated by what we were telling her and thinking that this could help her with her staff, especially on the EQ side of it.
the emotional quotient part of it, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So if people are still, they know about it, but they can't spend much time in that. And because, like she's in the distribution center, she might be in management there and all of the above, and she's got to be concentrating on that. And if she tried to put herself in a position of trying to learn AI just to be able to make it run in her division, it might be a hard thing to do,
Yeah.
you know. And I think Terry, I think you ran it by one of your sons, or at least you were talking to your sons, I believe, right? Was that
Yeah.
a conversation you had with somebody? I believe that you were talking about it. Was that did that happen?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the whole AI thing, I first brought it up to him, and he's a 30 something designer, and he always tells us you don't know what's going on today in the world. And then we had this conversation with him about AI and agentics and all these other pieces that he said, "What is that? What is that? I didn't know that, all these other things." And I said, "Well, there's people that are entrepreneurs and there are people that are freelancers. And so if you're a freelancer, you're trying to do it all yourself. If you're an entrepreneur, you're leading a team of people who are trying to build something and build a vision." But the idea is that he had no idea of this, despite the fact that he's got all the latest, greatest bells and whistles with technology, but he had no idea. So this is the kind of thing that can escape you, even if you're steeped in this aspect of the world. It just can go by you because things are happening so fast. I think in terms of speed, it used to be back maybe 20 years ago, if you went to college for IT, they would say by the time you're a junior in college or university in IT, everything you've learned up to this point, up to that point as a junior, is irrelevant now. So it took about 3 years. Today, with the speed that things are going in the AI world, it's about 30 days. And 30 days may be a real long time. It might be 15 to 30 days. Things are changing so rapidly. So by the time you learn something, it may not be relevant anymore. The idea here is that if you learn those basics and fundamentals, it's like anything else. When you're looking for a needle in a haystack, if somebody points to you in the haystack where that needle is, you can find it. If you're just kind of searching around in general, you may never find it. So this is the idea of what we at Latreia 360 are trying to do, is to help people to really hone in and, okay, search this part of the haystack for the needle because here's where it's going to lie. Here's where the gold is hidden below the surface. We're going to make it easy for you, as opposed to you trying to scan everything and try to figure it all out, because it's never going to happen that way. You might get lucky. You might decide that you're going to get into it, and maybe if the outcome is that you do find out how to do it, then you made a great decision, maybe, or maybe just the outcome was good.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that if you know where to look and you're guided. And we're going to walk alongside people. We don't just dump material, have you buy DVDs or CDs or any of that kind of stuff. We're going to walk alongside you for a period of time that's going to help you get acclimated to the point where you can really understand what's going on. And then we're not going to leave you alone in the middle of the desert to figure out what's going on. And we're going to walk you through this. We're going to walk you to the oasis and show you how to do these things.
Absolutely. Because how much have we learned in the most recent times right now, right, Jocelyn? I mean,
I'm,
what,
I couldn't hear you, JA.
I'm just saying that, how much have we learned in just a
Uh,
short amount of time, but a loaded amount of time? If we
oh
were
yeah.
not coaches and consultants, where that is our craft, by the way, is to know relevant information, can you imagine what we don't know, right? And I mean, and we're in it every day at this point. And like Terry was saying, a week from now, that stuff is going to be old, and we've already seen it happen
Hmm.
daily, where all of a sudden something that we learned today is already irrelevant. And so, staying in each other's lanes, that's what's exciting about it, is because I think we can take the old school stuff and be able to enhance it with all the new stuff. And but what's even more interesting, and Jocelyn, I want to ask you, because your sister, I believe that it was your sister. Is that correct, Jocelyn?
Yes, my sister-in-law.
Okay, your sister-in-law, probably
Hmm.
not 30 years old. True, different generation at that point.
Different generation. She's a year older than I am.
Okay, so a different generation, no matter what, right? Because your sons are in the 30s, I think is what you said,
Yes.
Terry. And so these are two different generations that, guess what? They're in two different fields. One's a graphic designer of some sort. Another one's in the Macy's and um, and but yet they both really don't know what they don't know yet, right? And then they have to both concentrate on becoming an AI expert if they want to roll this out. And you know what? It doesn't matter from a generational perspective. Every day is changing. It is really what it comes down to. A millennial today that's learning AI, or a Gen X or a Gen Z or whatever the other generations are that's even younger than that, um, whatever they're learning today could be old by tomorrow. So, so it's there to be had. And so I just think the opportunity is great, right, guys? That we get to step in and learn so much and go and affect people. So, truly excited to have you guys in the partnership from that perspective. So, I'm going to pivot because, believe it or not, we've been talking now for 36 minutes, actually 40 minutes. Can you believe that? It just it goes fast, right? But I want to talk about something, bridging what challenging your status quo is all about. Because vocationally, we've already talked about back to the basics, but yet marrying it with relevant modern technology or modern ways and strategies, which is really AI and EQ. That's a separate topic, by the way. So we're gonna have you guys back on talking about AI and EQ. And so, but more than that, challenging your status quo means, are you vocationally successful or not? But at the same time, if you're not, or if you are, how is the other side, the other well being doing? And very specifically, your husband and wife. I'm not sure how strong my wife and I could be sitting right next to each other. How important has your relationship been? I'll start with just you two and your relationship, and being able to build a business. I mean, has it come into play, or do you guys just absolutely keep that separated? Is there a correlation between being successful relationally as well as vocationally? Terry, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Yeah, honestly, we've had this conversation with many people. From people in the gym, people in the industry, people at church, all different places. And they said, I'm not sure I could do that with my spouse. And we kind of look at each other and say, we're not sure we could do it without each other.
Mm.
So it's different for every person. And I would say that when you're looking at it, I think that you have to take it in a manner that is meaningful for you. Some people, they need that space. And if you don't have that space between you, it can be problematic. The other part is, and I'll kind of give a secret, a tip as to how we held our board meetings when we were a husband-wife origination team. We would wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, have something on our mind. Now, most times when you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and you're thinking about something at work and your spouse knows nothing about what you do, guess what? You're just kind of, you have to go leave the room, go get up and go to another part of the house. We actually would talk about loans. We talk about different things, and then we go back to sleep because we were both like-minded, and we thought about this, and we got resolutions and solutions. So once you put your mind at ease and you allow yourself to go through that process of articulating what's going on, now it's a simple process. But we couldn't imagine. I mean, and Jay, the other part is not only we're married, in business together, but we also go to the gym together and work out together. So we go to the store together. We do a lot of things together. And quite frankly, I think that if I'm married to somebody, that's my life partner. That's the person. There's nobody I'd rather spend more time with than Jocelyn.
That's awesome. Jocelyn, what do you add to that, man?
Yeah. Adding to that is just basically we have a strong relationship. Do we have ups and downs? Of course, any couple has ups and downs. But how we approach things is that we agree to disagree. We're not going to agree on everything. I don't expect him to agree with me on everything, and I'm not going to agree with him on everything. But the love is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the main bond, right? And then
Yes.
you guys have 2 boys, and you guys raised them with basically you guys have been in business partnership raising these kids, right? And has that affected how they, give it to me from their perspective? What do you think they think if they were on the air with us? What do you think they'd say?
I
I think
think
it's
that they
go ahead.
I think that they would say that their mom and dad worked very hard, and in spite that we were up till 9, 10, sometimes 11 o'clock at night working on loans. When it was family time, it was family time. When they got home from school, they went to the YMCA. They had their sports. Terry was involved being a coach. We were always there for them. I went to every school event. I don't think I could ride a school bus now today, but they know that they knew that we were there for them. And by the way, JA, that Terry and I, our boys, we're a blended family. We don't have children together. Terry has his son and I have my son. And Terry adopted my son when he was our son now, when he was 5 years old. So, and on top of raising boys and raising a blended family, I think we did a pretty good job.
I think you did too, by the way. And I don't
Hmm.
know your sons yet. I look forward to that. But I mean, I get to watch it from a distance and how you guys talk about your sons and so on and so forth. Terry, what do you add to that?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Jocelyn in terms of what she's saying. The other part is I would also say that we were always present for them. And like Jocelyn says, she can't ride another bus. You go on school field trips. We did all the events at the schools. All that we made it to every single sporting event, with the exception once or twice there was an overlap where the same time they were playing 2 games at 2 different locations. But that was very rare. But most of the time we were there. We were present. Our time management and our ability to do what we had to do and get it taken care of allowed us to be present for our family. And I think that was so critical. It's interesting because growing up, our boys said they'd never want to be in sales, and yet they're one is working at Ralph Lauren in sales, and he's leading the company or leading his group in sales. He says he just loves sales. He can't think of anything else he'd rather do. And yet he told us growing up as a teenager, he never would want to do this. And the other one is in hospitality. So that's sales all the time. You're forward facing with the customers all the time. You're on the front line. And so they realized that what we did wasn't just a grind, and they would see us on the weekend, or they would see us once a week for something. They saw us every day, all the time, every event, whatever was going on. And we were only able to do that because of the flexibility of what we did and the fact that if you're effective with your time management, your time blocking, and those kinds of things, that you have more time than you really realize. It's less wasted time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I mean, what is amazing about what you guys are talking about is that I think there's an awful lot of people listening to this right now that's saying, I could never done that, to work with both of you. And we were just talking about business and going back to the basics and stuff like that. And I just heard you talk about some of the back to the basic stuff, even in the family circle, right? The relational side of it. You talk about time blocking. You talked about just being present, and yeah, and it's kind of amazing because a lot of people, when you look at their calendars,
Mm.
you can see their vocational focus, but you hardly ever see on their calendars what their relational focus is all about. They just kind of say, well, it happens. It's just, I do it all the time. And I love my kids all the way through. And, family time is just important to me and so on and so forth. But the reality is what, um, if it's not on the calendar, it falls apart. And I think I just heard that from both of you that you made an effort of making that happen because it was that important for you. Do you think that you could have built the business without being focused relationally, or been able to raise your family accordingly without being also making a connection between vocation success and relational success? Could you have done them separately, you think, Jocelyn?
Separately, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. You're strong with numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Terry, how about you? What do you think?
Well, here's what I have to say about that. If you don't want to live your life with regrets, then be holistic in your approach to life. People live their life with regrets. They look back 10, 20, 30, 40 years later and they say, if I had only done this, it would have been better.
Hmm.
The idea is have that mix, have that even blend. Don't be lopsided with your focus. If you're so steeped into work rules your world and that's the center of your universe, you can never. One thing I will tell you, the most valuable commodity that we all have is time. And if you use that time wisely, you'll never regret the use of that time. You can always make more money, but you can't regain the time that you could have spent with your children when they were younger. Those are memories. You can't buy those. You can't go back and recreate them later on, when it's convenient. You have to do it when it's necessary and important, which is as it's happening in real time. And this is all we're talking about here in general, is being present, whatever it may be, whatever aspect of your life you're in, whether it's your spirituality, whether it's your vocation, whether it's your relational, physical, whatever it is, you have to be present at that time. If And we see this all the time. I'll use the physical part of it. We see it all the time. We go to the gym, and we're very structured in what we do. We get in, we get out. It's a 45-minute workout. We see people come in, and they'll be there for 30, 40 minutes. They've done one exercise because they're on their phone, they're texting, or they're talking to somebody at work. We can hear them talking to someone at work about something that's going on, and they're not focused on that exercise. They're not focused on their physical aspect of their life. So it's going to be neglected. And when you neglect any aspect of your life becomes lopsided.
Yeah.
So if you don't want a lopsided life, have it well-rounded.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a tremendous point. Even more so from a relational standpoint. I mean, it just encompasses you. If you're not taking care of those relationships, it will encompass you, and I think it will limit your ability to be successful, at least from maximizing your success, right? Because you can always be left behind, guys. You know what? So 53 minutes, almost 55 minutes later, we're just starting to tap into it, tap into our subject of really getting into it, and making a difference. So far, we've talked about AI, EQ, we've talked about back to the basics, to the modern technology. And now we're talking about how all of that even relates to the relational side of things, how you function with your sons and each other. The basics are still there, but yet how relevant it is to have even the modern side of things like AI and EQ, again, even on a relational side. I just don't think that you can really ever be successful by just one. But I got to put a closer to it now. Otherwise, we can be here for another 3 hours to talk about a bunch of other topics. And so, what I'd love to do, and every single one of my shows, by the way, ends up where I say to somebody, "Would you come back on the show?" And the coolest part is that I get to work with you guys every day from this point forward as part of Latreia 360. And I'm so thrilled, by the way, by that. And so I would love to have us have an episode 2 of this episode where we talk about other things and where we went with AI and EQ and what we're doing overall. So would you come back on? Would you guys come back on with me?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd love to, and we're so thankful for the opportunity to get together. And I just, here's the one thing I will say, and we haven't talked about the spirituality piece of it. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but spirituality isn't you believe in my God or I believe in your God or whatever religion you believe in. If you believe in a religion at all, it could just be a higher authority. But I think that the idea that if you do have spirituality, and we can talk about this in our next meeting, if you do have spirituality, that means that you're putting yourself second.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, that's part of relational. When you're in a relationship with your spouse, and this is where a lot of guys have a hard time making that distinction. The minute a child is born, you've gone from being number 1 to number 3. And it's a hard aspect for a lot of people to take into mind. But I think if you have your spirituality, that keeps you well grounded and lets you know that your problems aren't the biggest things in the universe. That your problems in the relation of the universe are very, very small in the grand scheme of things. So a lot of times we get so caught up in our day-to-day troubles and our woes. And that's the next thing I think we should talk about when we do reconvene is how do we navigate that aspect of life?
I will hold you to that, by the way, and that will come sooner than later, by the way. So, Jocelyn, any last words from you based on what we've talked about? We talked about all sorts of different things, but any last words from you just before we close?
Yeah. When you said that, will you guys come back? Only thing I have to say, I know where you work.
Yeah, that's true. We now do, right? And so we get to work right next to each other like that. So I'm absolutely thrilled, guys. I mean, I can't say enough. And I'm so glad that we're going public with this at this point, that we are getting to work together, right? I'm more than thrilled, and it's a true privilege and an honor to be working with both of you. And I cannot wait to affect so many more people. And we're just beginning with this whole AI EQ focus of this specific team, and we'll be bringing it out there. So Terry and Jocelyn, I got to say goodbye, unfortunately. So we'll get you on the next episode or two. But thank you. Thanks for, number one, being on this episode, but even more so for trusting both Paul and I and joining us in this journey that we call Latreia 360. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. And it's easy to trust people that are trustworthy.
That's awesome. Thanks again. All right, guys. I'll send you guys to the green room. But for all of the rest of you guys have been listening, guys, there's so much more to cover, right? So I now understand why people have long podcasts, by the way, because it's just an engaging conversation and you just start to tap into it and you want more. So thank you for listening. This is Challenging Your Status Quo. And as always, this is Jay Dava. And I just want to be able to end it by saying, guys, please be blessed and go be a blessing. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care, everyone.
And that wraps another episode of Challenging Your Status Quo. We hope you found inspiration and practical wisdom to carry into your daily lives. If JA has inspired you, join our community by subscribing to the podcast. Stay connected with us at latreiacoaching.com and through our social media channels where the conversation and growth continue. On behalf of JA and his whole team, we thank you for listening and invite you to keep challenging the status quo in your own life. Until next time, remember, pursue excellence, live purposefully, and embrace holistic success. We'll catch you next episode.